Techno ist scheiße, wir machen's trotzdem. Welcome to Riemann's World. I promised a proper rundown for this someday, and today is not that day. Part of the reason is that there has been a substantial change, namely turning Leopold into a Leopold system. So today I'll rather share some thoughts on the development of Riemann's world. First chapter. What's a system? What does it do? There has been this taxonomy in Riemann's world. Every modular build gets a given name like Gran Turismo or Manticore. If a defam is added, the word expanded is added at the end. If something else is added, the word system is added after the given name. So Gran Turismo plus MC707 was the Gran Turismo system. Riemann 2 voice with Volker kick and defam was the Riemann 2 voice system expanded. Manticore on its own was Manticore. And now Leopold with the electron analog rhythm, or EAR for short, is Leopold System. This system is a move away from the ideals of Riemann's world, namely to have monolithic, modular-centric, non-programmable things. 2 boxes is not monolithic, and the EAR is programmable. It's what it's all about, you could say. With the EAR being a drum machine, it's only reasonable to have it focus on drumming duties, which gives me the option to use Leopold for everything else, which are mostly melodic things, or very wicked drumish things. Next chapter. Changes. So how exactly did I add the EAR? Syncing-wise, this was far more simple than I had anticipated. The EAR sends DIN sync and Pamela directly receives it. Note that I'm not using the run signal. I need the run input on Pamela for the gate output round robin. Fortunately, if you press stop twice on the EAR, it stops the DIN sync output, so that's a workaround of sorts. Audio wiring is as simple as it gets. The main stereo out from Leopold goes into the external in of the EAR, so what I get on the EAR's main and headphone outputs is the system. I opted to change the placement of the 4 quantizers running in Ornament and Crime. Before, they were sitting after the CV sources. 2 channels of Bloom and 2 attenuated Turing machines from stages, and were sent to the voices via A1, A2, 2 switches after that. Now, they're after the switches and before the actual voices, which makes a lot of things easier, like playing the same sequence in different scales at the same time. It also allows me to trigger the quantizer, thus getting rid of the wobbling chord effect with plugs, as Ornament and Crime freezes the pitch if there's no new trigger for the voice. Grids is now running in Björklund, aka Euclidean rhythm mode, which gives me more options for rhythmic structures that do not have the length of a 4/4 bar for voices 3 and 4. Apropos grids, as I no longer need to generate a 24 ppqn clock with Pamela, I now have an additional out, which is right now a stepped LFO, like a clipped Diaz I already got rid of. Which brings me to modulation sources. The aforementioned new LFO, and I also did tap the Turing machine's outputs pre-attenuator offset on stages, so I could use them for something, like controlling resonance and cutoff on the dual LPG, which is fun. or filter CV on voices 1 and 2, or resonance on voice 1, which is also fun. Next chapter, and their impact. Having suddenly the voice count go up from 5 to 13 is bound to change something, even if the 8 new voices are far less flexible than 4 of the existing 5 from Leopold. And speaking of Leopold's voices, I haven't used voice 0, aka the bass drum, aka the Befaco kick-all at all since moving to the Leopold system. I have enough bass drum capable voices that are far more flexible already. One of the biggest influences thus is that I typically do not need 2 of the 4 pitched voices for drumming duties in Leopold. I've recently used all 4 of them for melodic stuff, which immediately also means the looper in the Disting X didn't get that much work. Not having to juggle voices all the time does mean I have more time working on things like melody and arrangement. Changing stuff on Bloom, bouncing different pitch sources between voices for some call and response, this has become easier, simply because I no longer have my hands full with getting a typical set of 3 melodic and 4 percussive voices going somehow. Which can also be a bad thing. The arrangement was a lot inspired by early Ornette Coleman work, not the free jazz one. In his chord-free quartet, the voice count, in synth people terms, was usually 7. Acoustic bass, alto sax and trumpet as mono voices, and kick, snare and ride from the drum kit, which already could be rather dense. Now I have 4 melody voices, one of which can also do chords, and 2 further ones can, at least in theory, do intervals. Plus 8 drum voices, plus a looper, and a crazy delay. This is bound to become Gustav Mahler at times, if I'm not careful. No, when I'm not careful. Last chapter. The future. The future. As of now, there are a few short-term action items remaining. And note that all of the things I consider right now are using stuff I already have, meaning it's configuration changes or swapping available things in and out. There's the idea to revert to the original Disting-based voice 0, which you remember from the Riemann system. The kick-all, being as nice as it is, has 5 parameters to not do everything I need. With the Disting, I could create a sample set moving through everything I need and then select between that with only 1 knob. And I also could use other samples, including sample loops, opening Pandora's box that way. And also winning me 2 Teileinheiten. That's the Döpfer way of saying HP. I believe that replacing the 2 dual quantizer algorithms with a quantimain would improve things, mainly because it would easily allow me to shift octaves for voices independently. I need to install a different firmware on Ornamentum Prime for this though. There's still the idea to make use of all the possibilities of the Disting in voice 1, aka Supercoast. And maybe not use the Disting X as a looper, but as another wicked effect, like a granulator or convolver or a dream machine. Or make it do loops in a different way with a Ghostus loop. And then a bunch of configuration things. Doing a proper project setup in EAR. Working with multiple configurations on Pamela, and rewiring things, thus gaining channels on Pamela or even stages in stages. In the long-term department, there's still the idea to move from stereo mix to cockpit, thus allowing me to do some sidechain ducking, and to get rid of the HPO and thus add a Shachmat high pass. I still can make use of the dual VCA for actual dynamics and for other things. And finally, after everything's done, rearrange some modules for improved user experience. And let's not forget, I still need to learn this thing. This thing being the Leopold system, so both Leopold and EAR.